After some investigation, it appeared that the metasploitable tree, has a certain vulnerability, which we will use now. It is actually right here, Manage Desktop Central. We don't exactly know what avoided us to exploit the SMB Eternal Blue or Eternal Romance. Eternal Romance is obvious, but Eternal Blue should work normally. However, in our setup, it did not work. And we are lucky it did not crash the remote service either. So we will try another exploit. And now we know that this will work. And if we remember our sessions, we had Metasploit, meta-operator sessions, 4 sessions on the remote system. They are forked using the Patek implant. We have assigned system tokens to the implant, Patek implant, then called meta-operator. So meta-operator inherited those system tokens, and we set a route for this network, which is our target network. And 172.28.128.2 is our Windows target. So when we try to show the options of the manage engine, we can see this exploit. The exploit information is available here. It simply says that Manage Desktop Central 9 has an issue. It's a file upload issue, and through that file upload issue, we can upload the JSP and we can get the code execution. But we need to pay attention to one thing again. This must be again bind shell, because we are using a route through the session one. That means we need to pay attention to the bind, and we need to do that. And now I'm just setting an L port to avoid any further conflict. And we are just using this exploit with the given remote host, default port, which is the default port of the service, as well as a different local port. This is not the one we have used for Eternal Blue. In case of the exploit stager run successfully on that port, but we failed to connect. So let's try this exploit and see that whether or not we are able to reach through our tunneling. And for tunnel information, you still need to understand this diagram. 2 servers and our employee laptop is connected to the blue network, and the red is our accessible network over internet. Let's exploit this and creating JSP stager, that is meta-operator stager. So we are uploading this JSP stager using Metasploit. After it uploads this, it calls the JSP. It also deletes the JSP as well, and there's a new meta-operator session. In the sessions list, it appeared that we have a shell now. If we use this session, we have this shell as well. We can exit from the shell, but not from meta-operator. So we can go back and we can use another feature here, search suggest, which gives us local exploit suggester. As with Windows 2008, we can use this module against the meta-operator session, which is our session number 6. It may analyze the session and will suggest us some privilege escalation exploits that will be also used for this type of escalation. So let's use this module against our session. Remember that this module uses meta-operator, analyzes the remote system, and it compares the collected system information against the current exploit database. So it may give some suggestions to us. It will take time. It will check a couple of system settings, software versions, maybe a couple of registry keys, and then it will give us what services or what features vulnerable. Then we can reutilize privilege escalation. In this case, we are running on a shell on this system. So this is compromised. And we can just color it, for example, blue. And we need to focus on this second as well. And it says that this system is vulnerable to some of those local exploits. We can try those. And let's copy this information elsewhere that we can work on it. But meanwhile, search for potential privilege escalation use on those. Reflection juicy could be used for this target. It is slightly new. And this is the info. It simply says that this model utilizes the net NTLM v2 reflection between DCOM RPC to achieve a system handle for elevation of privilege. So we can use this. And it requires CLS ID. But the thing is, Windows 10 and Windows 2019 are not vulnerable. Lucky us, the target is 2008. So we have confirmed this through the sysinfo. The options are here, but we need x64 bind shellcode instead of reverse. And we need to assign a new local port to avoid any conflict. And we need to assign a remote host. And let's look at the options again. Remote host, not hosts. So I need to fix this. Okay. This exploit will run on the given session that I will give shortly, which is session 6. This is the CLS ID of the service which could be used for NTLM and privilege escalation. And after this exploitation works, we will try to connect to the remote system for the metaperator bind shell for x64 architecture running on 4447 port. Let's try this. It worked. Now we are here. So we can go to shell.mi, but sessions will already reveal this information to us. NT authority system has received. So we have Windows 2008 compromised with the system privileges. So we can reach any data on this system, whether or not these users hiding something from us, for example, sample data or other juicy information. I'm calling a shell now. I'm going here. And see the users. It is here, and the user will be, for example, background. And we can see the content of the documents or some other files. For example, this one is Windows PowerShell folder, but that could be a sample file. For example, we can create a new one here, opening the documents folder and Jacopars and other stuff here. So which means we can search for it in administrative folders and metaperator features. And the other thing is, when we look for further details, we always um, try to automate things in real-time exercise, because this kind of interactive communication would also make the meta-operator pinging, which is not ideal. So we need to understand what information is revealed, how it works, and how can we avoid this. We can use some automated actions on Cobalt Strike or Covenant or Silent Trinity for this kind of internal activities or file search or similar juicy information collection. In this case, CD documents is accessible to us, but we don't have my documents. That would be another hidden directory for us, and we need to search for it. Now let's take a pause. Before the data exfiltration stage, we will find that juicy information and we will exfiltrate this in the exfiltration phase. So I'm just closing this session and going back to Metaoperator back again. And remember that Metaoperator also has a lot of different abilities for us. Getting screenshots or enumerating desktops and doing some additional stuff here as well. For example, getting screenshots could be useful. And that is the screenshot file. And this is what we see. So user was using this documents library, and this is Windows shell. That means that folder was shared. That means all users may have this. So what we have seen here was the user documents folder, but ironically, they have hidden this to another user, the public folder or shared folder as well. So it is mapped to background. We can see this information through the screenshot. Yeah, it is here. Users, public, and documents. So we can get these files and we can just download them using download or upload features of Metaoperator. We can just exit because the file is there. We know that, but we can also use Metaoperator to look at that file as well, because Metaoperator also supports this type of commands. Sorry, my bad. It appears so. I forgot some of the features of Metaoperator. Download must be still there. Yes, that's correct. So let's assume that download recursively for this folder. So it will include those two files. Maybe the backslash is the problem. Yes, it is the problem. So now it recursively downloads the documents folder, which contains a lot of information for us, and this is simple exfiltration as well. And this screenshot already gives us the Windows 2008 details. Let's close this, and we have now all the files copied to our loot, and just we can work on all these samples and we can work on it. For example, these ones and more. I'm going back for the session states, and now we can mark that Windows is gone. let's focus on Linux this time.